I really do apologise, but my memory card and my cameras for some reason just displayed an error, so if you're seeing this section of the video, it means I've not been able to recover the file, and we've been having to go off the webcam angle, which isn't great. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but as you can imagine, I'm already absolutely boiling, I'm absolutely fuming, and I'm not recording that last 15 minutes again. 60 years of her is going to be continuing for England, as we have just been knocked out of the World Cup at the semi-final stage against Argentina, and I've kind of hung off a lot so far on making content around the World Cup because I feel like a lot of the games have been very typical England, and there isn't really loads to say, I've personally felt, but obviously this is an instant match reaction. The game finished literally 5 minutes ago, and I've got a lot of opinions about what we've just watched. So if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 200 likes on today's video would be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. The big person, if we're going to put any blame on anyone, for me absolutely has to be Thomas Tuchel, but we'll come on to that later on in today's video. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hype the video as well, and let's get straight into it. Now, going back to when the teams were announced, obviously at any type of top level football, a lot of leaks happened with the lineups and all that sort of stuff, and there was a couple of interesting selection choices here by Thomas Tuchel. Obviously Reece James came back in at right back. He's missed or hasn't started for quite a while through injury. Jed Spence moved over to the left hand side. The big decision that he made was Morgan Rogers coming in to start over on the right wing. Obviously Bukayo Saka hasn't been fully fit across the full tournament. Noni Madueke for the large part hasn't really looked up to the standard, but on the whole, I didn't really mind that. I thought having a more defensive fullback in Jed Spence made a lot more sense. Having someone who's more comfortable going forward in Reece James made it more sense, and I feel like the experiment with Madueke hasn't really worked, so we did need to try something different, and then everything else is pretty much as you would expect. Obviously the Argentina side is obviously built around Lionel Messi, the greatest player of all time, 2 assists in this game, which eventually has sent his country through into another World Cup final. They won it last time, and they're probably favourites to go on and win it again, but in terms of the team, didn't really have many complaints with it. And just before the kickoff, when you look at something so minor, but it's these small 1 or 2%, even the national anthems, our players sing it, they're so moderate with it, but you can see already the passion and kind of the energy that the Argentinians are feeling. They're all shouting the national anthem with so much pride. With the England players, it's all just very, well, we kind of need to sing it just because it's something to do. And obviously I'm not going to get into the political side of the national anthem, but you could see already that Argentina were going to be very much up for this game, and inside the first 10 minutes it should have been 3 bookings and maybe a red card. For me, where Enzo Fernandez comes over the top of Elliot Anderson, smashes him over the back of the head, that is an absolute red card every day of the week. And if that's the other way around, it is a red card. I'm sorry, but it is the most blatant red that you have ever seen. For me personally, I just don't understand how it wasn't even checked by VAR. It wasn't even given as a yellow card, but that kind of set the tone for the game. You look at Simeone on the right hand side, the amount of fouls that he got away with. I think he eventually got subbed off after 5 or 6 fouls. Referee spoke to him once, not a yellow card coming out. Obviously Anderson gets booked then for his first foul of the game where he trips up Messi. Yes, he hits him with a little bit of force, but you just knew already going into the game how it was going to go. We got through to half time, and I thought we'd done quite well up until that point. I did think the first half was quite evenly matched. Neither side really wanting to commit too hard, neither side really creating many clear-cut chances. We obviously go into the second half, no changes, and I think England scoring was the worst thing that could have happened for us. We have a history over the last couple of years under Southgate of when we score first in a big game, we shit ourselves and park the bus, and that's exactly what we did here, and it's exactly why we're going home. I think about 15 seconds before we actually scored the goal, I put in one of the group chats with my friends in saying both of the wingers have been terrible, they need to come off. Obviously Rodgers and Gordon, who go on to assist and score the goal. Brilliant from Rodgers down the right hand side, puts in a perfect cross, and Gordon turning up at the back stick. How many times have we seen in the tournament so far where we've got to this stage, balls have gone in at the back post and nobody is really there. We've relied a lot on Harry Kane in the earlier stages and Jude Bellingham in the more latter stages of the tournament for a goal output. Only Marcus Rashford has scored for England in this tournament, but it was nice to see somebody else coming up with a goal. Then Argentina were obviously putting on the pressure. I think McAllister hit the post with a free header, and they were applying a little bit more pressure. They were going for it a bit more. They were obviously making a couple of changes. We then decide to make our first defensive change of the game. We go to a 5 at the back. Ezri Konsa comes on for Anthony Gordon, and I can't say I was 100% against that decision. I don't think it was the worst decision to make some subs. I would have personally stuck with a back four at that point and maybe thought about the back five a little bit later, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more fresh legs out there because the likes of Rodgers wasn't exactly outstanding in the game. I don't think either Kane or Bellingham had anywhere near their best games of the tournament whatsoever. They made a load of attacking changes. They're bombarding our box. Pickford made a great save as well, I think just before the hydration break. I know the header was kind of near him, but it is one that you would expect him to make, but still it is a good save. And obviously, like I said, they hit the post through McAllister. Then we really did decide to park the bus. Dan Burn and Nico O'Reilly coming on for Reece James and Declan Rice. We had a flat back five of defensive minded players. We had defensive minded players in Anderson and O'Reilly playing in the midfield as well. We well and truly parked that bus, and obviously, as is what always happens in football, it goes to cost you. Now, I'm a Bradford City fan for those who don't know, and I've seen us do it so many times under Mark Hughes. It was actually painful where we'd go a goal up, we'd park the bus, and we'd eventually concede goals. Because as good as what your team can be, you can have the best defensive structure in the world. When you're playing against such an elite level opposition, they're going to create chances, and obviously their equaliser comes through Enzo Fernandez, a well-worked short corner routine, which they'd already tried 2 or 3 times earlier on in the game, and we still weren't really alive to what they were going to do. And obviously Enzo Fernandez has a free shot at goal. I don't think Pickford's positioning is particularly great, to be honest with you. It's not like it was right in the top corner, it's in kind of like the mid-region of the goal. I do expect Jordan Pickford to be doing better with that, and I think there's been a few times in this tournament so far where he has looked a little bit erratic and not as his usual calm self, to be completely fair. And obviously I really like Jordan Pickford, given that he is a Bradford City representative at the tournament. And obviously after that goal, when you're looking at England's team and how we'd played for the last 30 minutes of just completely parking the bus, and Argentina having chance after chance, we were getting lucky with the post, you know, they absolutely did deserve their equaliser, and it might have worked for us against Norway and Mexico and DR Congo, this, you know, sitting in deep and trying to see it out, but Argentina are a completely different animal, especially when they've got Lionel Messi, and that is again where their equaliser does come through. He does really well down the right hand side, hangs up across to the back post, and even though we've got all the defensive players in the world on the pitch, I think there's only bloody Trevor Chalobah still to come on the pitch, and we've got near enough every defensive player used up in the game, and they still have a free header inside our 6-yard box. Incredibly disappointing. Great header though from Martinez, and at that point, I mean, even as soon as it went to 1-1, I knew they were going to score again, but I had no faith in us whatsoever that we were going to pull something out of the bag with obviously how Argentina play. There's a lot of dirty tactics that do go on, a lot of time wasting and all that sort of stuff, but I just never really felt like we believed in ourselves enough, and Thomas Tuchel had come into England to stop us from behaving like this team where we're too scared as soon as we go a goal up. And you know, some of England's best performances in this tournament are when we've been under a little bit of pressure, but in this game, when the pressure is at its absolute highest, we've crumbled again. We've parked the bus, we've tried to defend, and it simply just does not work. Tuchel came in because Southgate couldn't get it over the line, because any time we'd have any type of chance of doing something, well, we'd sit back and we'd be conservative and defend, and I don't understand why elite level managers want to do this. And I've witnessed this so much as a Bradford City fan under Mark Hughes, Derek Adams, even Graham Alexander. How many late goals have we conceded under Alexander compared to how many late goals that we've scored? Now obviously the best moment of my lifetime does come with a late goal scored by Bradford City, but unfortunately it's the same as when you support in England or when you support in Bradford. You do get let down more times than enjoy it, really. And yeah, we can blame the players and say people like Kane and Bellingham didn't really turn up, but Bellingham has been incredible across the full tournament. Definitely player of the tournament, in my personal opinion. You look at the England team, and I thought Jed Spence had a really good game. I thought Elliot Anderson had a really good game. John Stones has a really good game, but apart from that, I do think there was a lot of poor performances all over the park, and it's been a little bit of a theme, I want to say, with Harry Kane, that he doesn't really show up in the big games for England. It's all well and good scoring the odd penalty here or there, or doing well in the knockout matches, not in the knockout, in the group stage matches against these, you know, lesser sort of nations, and Kane has come up with the odd moment in big games for England, but not enough for the type of player that he is. And you look again, even back to when Tuchel was appointed, his contract was originally meant to finish basically at the end of this tournament, and then after a couple of the qualifiers and friendlies and all that sort of stuff, we just gave him then another contract to extend it until I think the end of the next Euros. And for me, from what I've seen from England, it is absolutely no different now than what it was under Gareth Southgate. So what was the point in making the change? We were supposed to have brought in an elite level manager to make these elite level decisions, but for me, I was more comfortable under Gareth Southgate. We were so much better defensively under Southgate. Have we conceded in near enough every game that England have played in, especially in the knockout games? We've conceded in every single match, whereas you look at the last tournament under Southgate at the Euros, I don't think we conceded from open play up until, was it the semi-finals against the Netherlands? Defensively, we've been in absolute shambles this tournament, constantly chopping and changing the side, and the team were not able to build any stability, if I'm completely honest. And yes, obviously injuries did play their part, but again, we go back to team selection. Did Thomas Tuchel get it right? But in the big moments, he's got it completely wrong in this game, and it's cost us. You cannot defend for 40 minutes in a low block, trying to play a 5-4-1 when you're playing up against the greatest player of all time. He's come up with 2 assists in this one, and ultimately England have been knocked out of the tournament because of bad decision making and bad man management. For me, I don't want to be overreactionary, but I see no reason why Thomas Tuchel should be staying on beyond this tournament. We are no worse, no better than where we were under Gareth Southgate, and at least you felt that real connection between the fans and the manager. And yes, we had all the Wonderwall experience, but I'm disappointed. I'm obviously frustrated given that, you know, the game did literally finish like 15-20 minutes ago, but it just seems so simple to the fan. When the game's in the balance and it's quite even, just because you've scored a goal, England scoring first is genuinely the worst thing that could ever happen to us, because every time we shit the bed, we park the bus, we try and defend, we throw on all the defenders, and it simply just does not work. But I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know down below, do you think I'm completely wrong? Do you think Tuchel should stay on at England? But I just personally don't see it after that performance. His decision making is no better than what it was under Gareth Southgate. But like I say, like, comment, subscribe. 200 likes is what we're aiming for on today's video, and I'll see you all very soon for another one.